Good morning. Denise Dryden doing my Sunday morning video. I'm so glad you could join me wherever you are, whatever time you're watching this. I'm glad you're tuning into this kind of concept of what do we do when our awakening affects our relationships. And I started a bit late today because I was set up out there and then it started blowing and raining, and so readjustments, recalibrating. That's what we do, right? We're human beings. So what is this concept of waking up? Before we can talk about awakening and how it affects our relationships, we could explore what does it mean to awake. And what I noticed is that, as we go through life, whether it's when when we're settled in high school, when we understand why we're in college or why we're working or what our career means to us, we enter into long-term relationships. We start the family era where we're having children and we're setting schedules and they need certain nap times. It doesn't really matter. Think of anything that puts you into a system where you sort of know what time to get up, you know what time to go to bed, you know what to do, and you run it unconsciously. It's like, this is what I do for the next year while I'm in these classes. This is what I do for the next 2 years with this baby. This is what I do in this relationship. This is what I do. So what we do is we almost go into this repetitive pattern and we don't really notice. So that's it on the very smallest level, is that we instigate repetitive patterns. On a much larger level, we could go into a lot of bigger picture thinking, and that's not what the point of this is today. But if we go bigger picture, it'd be like, why are we asleep? What caused us to go to sleep? What is subjugation, enslavement? We could go big, but you want more on that, you give me a call. So what happens is that something sort of startles us. It shifts us. It brings us into this place of like, what was that? And it instigates this thing of our perception, and then the things we notice, it catches our attention. We're like, that doesn't make sense to me. Where did that come from? I haven't seen that before. I haven't felt this before. I don't know quite what that was. But what it does is we put things together. It's like, it's just a few seconds and it comes in and it kind of shows you a picture of something you haven't seen before or something you felt. And then you're like, oh. And it's like you get to peek behind the veil. You get to peek behind something and go, there's something more going on there. So I'll give you a really grounded example. My children, they always wanted to go to Disney World, right? So we go to Florida, we rent a condo in New Smyrna Beach, and we, have these, 2 or 3 days that we're going to make the hike down to Disney World, and we're going to go in and spend some time in there. Now, I'm not a bug person at all, and I'm not really a humidity person, but Florida's got a lot of bugs. And in this condo, I'm noticing spiders, cockroaches, everything's crawling off the deck. Everywhere is bugs, right? And that's why, people put screens up around their pools, bugs, lizards, everything. So I'm struggling a little bit with the idea that Florida has so many bugs. So we walk into Disney World and it's immaculate. There isn't a bug in place. I never even saw a fly. And there's no trash. And there's all these people that sort of mysteriously appear out of a door, sweep something up, and then turn and go into the door and disappear. Characters come up. And so now it's like, I'm walking through it and I go, whoa, what? Where are the bugs? Why aren't there any bugs around here? There aren't even any bugs in the trees. You can't even hear the bugs. And then I notice that all these little doors, they just disappear, and they're tiny little sheds, and they just disappear. And then, I start to do some research on Disney World, and I realize the entire thing is underground. And now what they have is this little surface where they're like, oh, cue the deer up here, bring the food over here. And then there's some other things that I start to notice, like there are no drinking fountains. There are not a lot of drinking fountains around there. But there's all these stands offering to sell you water for $10 a bottle, right? So I start to go, oh no, this is not feeling good. I'm starting to put some things together. My perception has gathered something that didn't exist there, okay? So, that's an example of something that kind of comes up and grabs your attention and you're like, I can't ignore this. Another example would be you had a dream of this bizarre person that you don't even really know, and she kind of rattled you in your dream, and then the next day you're in the grocery store and she's standing right next to you and you're like, that's the woman I had a dream about, and it doesn't make sense. And then you start to talk to her and you realize she's much more interesting than most of the people you've been meeting so far. And you're okay. Right? So what happens is that something changes, and then there's this kind of confirmation, like, I'm not crazy. I saw something at Disney World that I didn't like it. I saw this person before I met her, and there she is, right? So she's this friend that takes me in a new direction, teaches me tarot, like, does all sorts of things, right? So it's when you notice more, you perceive more, and you can't undo the knowing. There's no way you could go like, yeah, okay, I didn't really see that. I'm just going to check out, maybe have a couple of drinks and go back to bed. It doesn't really work that way. You can't undo this. You can't go back to sleep once you're awake. And so what we want to really talk about today is with any system, whether it's ants, look at nature, whether it's beehives, whether it's organic work systems, whatever it is, right? Any system or organization where there's a rhythm and there's a process, is that you change one little thing. Like, sometimes it's fun to just go like, it's not fun, but it's interesting, is to take a pathway of ants going to an anthill and put a blockage in front of it and watch them figure it out and then come up with a whole nother path all the way around it, right? So we adapt and we shift to the things that happen. And so I brought some cards that, when we have an awakening, it's like something inside of us goes, oh, I didn't even know that was possible, right? And, there's an innocence to it, kind of like where you start to take off and go like, I don't know what that was, but it has my full attention. And this is an individual process. Like, I'm going to go there. And I don't know what I'm going to do about my house and my kids. I'm just going to pay attention just for a little while, just for a few minutes, and see what happens, right? I'm going to trust that wherever this is, wherever it's coming up, there's something there, right? I've got tons of cards, right? So many that came up with these images that I wanted to share with you. So there are some after effects, right? There are some after effects that happen, which is like you have a higher level of trust and confidence. You actually know something that you didn't know before, right? And you notice more and you perceive more, and it's like your attention just woke up. And like I said earlier, you can't undo this. So when our perceptions, our intuition, our ability to put connections together are heightened, we change the pace of the life that we're living, right? We do things differently. We make new connections with people and places and things. We decide we're going to stop doing something and we're going to start doing this. Maybe I want to go take walks down by the water more often. The water, somehow there's something about the ocean that talks to me, right? We're going to make changes in our behaviors, in our routines. Maybe we're going to stop drinking as much. Maybe we notice that all I ever do is drink with my partner, and then we kind of go into this dull evening. Notice what speaks to you, because what's going to happen is that you're going to have a higher perception, but you're going to butt into those people who don't have that same experience. They're not you. They didn't go through this, right? So you're going to go against people who have opinions. I don't know what you're doing, but you're taking some chances here, or what are you, like, awake now? Listen to these sort of criticisms, judgment, their fears coming at you, or even like, don't change things. I liked it exactly the way it was. We're going to notice that our people-pleasing behaviors stop. It's kind of like, I'm not going to do everything just to make you happy because it doesn't make me happy anymore. I feel dissonant. I feel disconnected, right? And you can no longer pretend. You can't pretend at all that everything's okay. So you step into resonance, right? You change interests, you change people, maybe you change relationships, you change your job, maybe you move locations, maybe you become less materialistic, you stop buying things. Maybe you step back from the stressful things that used to cause you a lot of problems. You know, you become more confident and outspoken. This is my favorite card about being, you know, when you're in resonance. This is from the Old Rider-Waite deck, and she's putting her hand in the mouth of the lion. Now, I like the cards where she's doing that, but she's also looking forward like, I have absolutely no fear in my body. Don't mess with me. I got this lion exactly where I need it to be, right? So we also have more compassion, more intuition. The synchronicities start to talk to us, right? And all of a sudden, the world is different. Now, the purpose of this talk is, what do you do when the people, the relationships around you start to have to adjust, and we don't know quite how we're going to do that? So first is that this is your own experience. This is yours. They are not having it. This is your own energy system having an awakening, becoming engaged, noticing things for the first time, right? So that's the first thing. This is yours. It has nothing to do with anybody else. Number two, you can share your experiences with those that notice or those that are in your intimate, immediate area. You know, let them know that you're noticing connections, that you're noticing synchronicities, that your perception, your perception started to take in a little bit more, and now you're trying to figure out what to do with that. And that you will let them know, you know, what you discover. It's not like I have to report to them, but you're going to include them in what you're discovering. Because you're going to use, I had this happen to me. I noticed this. I'm reading about this. I'm feeling this. So you use it from the I perspective. Number three, don't take anything that anyone does personally. Okay, you know, this is Don Miguel Ruiz. Don't take it personally. Whether it's a friend who is afraid that when you start talking about things, it's all of a sudden you sound like a conspiracy theorist, and they end their relationship with you because they're scared, right? Or they push away, or they cancel play dates with your kids, or they don't want to go come over to your house for dinner anymore with your family, or your parents sort of like don't want to talk to you on the phone. You know, this is their own reactions. These are when their fears and their judgments and their dissonance. Now they're feeling dissonance from you, and they don't know what to do about it. So it's almost like you can't change this energy system from rocking and rolling, and then it's going to impact everybody else. So you can be a translator, like, this is what I think is going on. This is what I think is happening to me. What are you noticing? Because a really good friend of mine who suggested I talk about this said, it's like in our relationships, we have to get used to being uncomfortable and talking about that. Like, what happens when dissonance shows up in a relationship? Number four, have honest and authentic conversations with the ones that you can inform, whether it's like a child, like, I'm noticing that every day when we get ready for school, we have a meltdown. Can we really explore school? What is it about school? Is it the time of day? Is it the teacher? Is it, you know, that you want to be home? Let's find out a way to co-create something different. The same thing with a partner. The same thing about what happens when you no longer want to work as much as you did, or you want to change the direction of your career. A friend, when there's some unhelpful patterns, like, you know, hey, come on over, I've got the wine ready. We're gonna gossip and talk about our partners. Ooh, yeah, maybe you don't want to do that anymore, right? So it takes that courage. Let's go over here to, you know, that courage and that strength to say, I have decided I don't feel comfortable doing that anymore. And I want to change the way we relate to each other. Okay? Number five, know that your world is going to change. It's going to shift. It's going to crumble. It's going to dismantle, because it's like you cracked open from a seed, right? And you can't like retract and zip it all up and pretend like it didn't happen. So everything around it, as you breathe and expand and grow, is going to shift around you. Kind of like I thought about the westward movement when, a family would say, we've decided we're going to sell everything here and buy a Calistoga wagon and head west, and we're going to go to Missouri. We're going to try to get as close to the Rocky Mountains as we can, or we're going all the way to California. And if you want to come when you're ready, come find us. But we're going to go, right? So this is when you know that things are going to change, and you've got to let them change and dismantle, because that's what's happening. Number 6 is to find your tribe, find your support system, your people, your places to read where you can go, I'm not crazy. This is what's actually happening to me. I understand it. So what we're doing is we're building forward. We're creating the support system that we need as we continue to wake up, because since we can't really stop it. We can't stop growing once we start once the spring, like you can't keep a plant, you can cut it, but it's still going to grow, right? And we can't go back into that cocoon of asleepness. So we build forward, and you build an adaptable, flexible future. Something that's like, I have no idea what I'm going to do, but this is where I'm going, right? And then number 7 is to create a daily practice where you go quiet, you go within. I think I have one in here that I really like, is where you find a way to sit and let go of what people are saying, what other thoughts, criticisms, judgments are coming in, and you allow the emotions, the confidence, the feelings to just, sort of waft over you, so that you're acknowledging and you're releasing and what's transpired before, and you reconnect to yourself and you recalibrate. So this awakening is happening more and more and more, whether it's something you hear on the news, something that doesn't make sense and the dots don't connect, something you're feeling in your body, the way that your family is reacting to this pandemic is awakening you, and you're like, I don't know what to do. When that happens, contact someone you trust and have them walk you through it. If I'm someone you want to talk to, you can always find me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. Send me a communication, and let's see what happens. I would love to work with you. So have a great Sunday. I am moving from Bainbridge Island to Montana, so my next broadcast will be in Whitefish, Montana. So I'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.